Our new house is amazing.
There is a bit of an issue with our neighbor's fencing. At least Geico makes bundling our home and car insurance easy.
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
ESPN welcomes you to the following presentation of the Southeastern Conference.
Welcome to ESPN College Football presented by Geico. One last road test in the regular season for the #1 team in America. Alabama taking on Arkansas. The coach looking for a national championship. The quarterback looking for a Heisman Trophy. Still so much to be played for the Crimson Tide. Bob Wischusen, Dan Orlovsky, Chris Budden will join us in just a minute. It seems like every time you talk about Alabama, the word best just trips off the tongue, right? They are the best team in America, and they're playing like it.
Yeah, they're ranked #1, and they look it. And you said that the way to describe them is the best. We're going to get to the skilled players, but it starts because they have the best offensive line in college football. And now we can go to the fun, the triplets. You know, you're talking about a quarterback that's having as good a season as anybody in college football in Mac Jones. Then the Devontae Smith playing as good as any wide receiver in college football, and then Najee Harris is the best back in college football. And when you're looking at Mac Jones and his decision making, and then when you're watching Devontae Smith and his route running, and then Najee Harris and his patience and his vision, that's why this offense for Alabama is just so difficult to stop, and it's a big reason why, like I said, they're the #1 team in America.
And Dan, as you said, put them behind the best offensive line in America, and they so far this season have been impossible to stop. 97 consecutive wins against unranked opponents for the Crimson Tide, and that is already an all-time college football record. The previous record was 72 from Miami back from 1984 through 2000, so Arkansas won the toss. They have elected to receive, and they're going to try and play with some tempo as best they can as they'll start at the 25-yard line off of a fair catch. Well, Felipe Franks last week, a rib injury kept him sidelined. KJ Jefferson did a really nice job at Missouri in a game that went right down to a game-winning field goal for Mizzou. But for Felipe Franks, fighting off the rib injury, he will start today. And Sam Pittman told us he's really the reason why Arkansas is back to being a legit competitive SEC football team.
Yeah, he wanted to kind of pay him his respects today with giving him the chance to start this football game and really see how long he can go, but he's their unquestioned leader offensively.
And he will start with a slant, and he will start with a completion as Mike Woods has a first down. And it looks like already we've got an Alabama player down and hurt. Christian Harris, one of 16 semifinalists for the Butkus Award, holding that left shoulder. Hopefully that's a stinger that Christian Harris can fight off. Looked like that contact right there is rolling on the tackle. Mike Woods landed on that shoulder of Harris. So 6 seconds in, 16 yards for Arkansas.
We're going to see a heavy dose of the run-pass option game out of this offense, something that Nick Saban doesn't love because of the way it stresses the defense and 3-4 yards blocking downfield, but it's a big, big part of their success offensively for Arkansas.
Play action for Franks. He was looking downtown and instead now looking for a check down, and he'll run it for a gain of maybe a yard, bumped out by Jalen Moody.
Really good discipline in the middle of the field by safety Daniel Wright. You know, Arkansas is trying to take their shot after that break, and he plays single high safety exactly where he's supposed to, underneath defenders, locked down, and Felipe does a good job not forcing the ball.
First carry of the day for Traylon Smith, tripped up by his own man behind the line of scrimmage and goes down for a loss of a yard, so it will be 3rd down and 11. Tripped over Brady Latham. Felipe Franks will go down. The pocket collapses, and he ends up underneath Christian Barmore. 5th sack of the season for Barmore. 1 first down for Arkansas, but now they have to punt.
Watch the twist inside by these guys. Watch this interior twist by Barmore and DJ Dale, okay? This is so difficult for an offensive line. Twist, twist. Barmore takes 2, DJ Dale gets free, and Barmore cleans it up. Really good job at a defensive front. 2nd down, you set the edge against the run. 3rd down, you earn your right to rush the quarterback, get off the field.
Here's Devontae Smith on the return, breaking tackles. And an offense that so far this season has been unstoppable with Mac Jones at quarterback will start in plus territory. A 2017 redshirt and then backed up Tua for a couple of years, but when he got his opportunity to play last season when Tua Tagovailoa was hurt, he gave you a little appetizer as to what he could be this year. And Dan, what he has now become, at least in our straw poll of Heisman voters, is almost in a dead heat, maybe a little bit edged ahead of Kyle Trask in the Heisman race.
That'll probably be decided next week.
I would think so. Probably go a long way towards deciding that trophy. Here's Najee Harris on 1st down. And he is brought down by Isaiah Nichols right at the line of scrimmage, fell forward for 1.
This Alabama offense, for me personally, was my favorite to study on tape this year.
Why?
Just because the way Steve Sarkisian, their offensive coordinator, sees the game. He understands how important space is, pre-snap motion, at the snap motion, kind of getting the numbers advantage. It's very similar to a lot of NFL-style offenses, and I love watching it.
Jones off play action. There's the check down to Harris, but he could not quite climb the ladder and pull in a pass from Mac Jones that had a little too much air under it, so it will be 3rd down and 9.
That's the right play for Mac Jones today. Arkansas is oftentimes going to drop 8 guys into coverage, do everything they can to keep the ball in front of them. He's going to have to play patient, disciplined football. Checkdowns have to be his friend. It's a good job there. You just got to bring that ball down to your tailback.
Devontae Smith to the top of your screen. Mac Jones looking that direction. Instead, it's underneath right at the 1st down line to gain to Slade Bolden. And that's good for 10 on 3rd and 9.
This is what anticipation looks like. Mac Jones in the pocket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hitch. Ball come out on time to Bolden. Right on that outside shoulder, that inside leverage man coverage. Perfect ball placement.
Harris for about 3 yards. Now it's funny when you look even as the play-by-play guy at Alabama statistically, it looks like an NFL stat sheet as well. It looks like the Tennessee Titans.
Yes.
Right? You've got, and a former Alabama guy, the #1 bell cow running back, kind of a clear-cut #1 wide receiver, clear-cut #2 wide receiver, productive tight ends.
Heavy play action pass.
And a prototypical pocket passing quarterback and just tremendous offensive efficiency. And here is Najee Harris. 2 yards shy of a 1st down. And already Najee Harris, with just a few yards, has moved into spot #3 all time in Alabama history in yards rushing.
I think the thing that has stood out is his patience and his vision this year as a runner.
That time he's met. And Nick Saban will have a 4th down decision to make. It'll be 4th down and 2. Well inside field goal range for the field goal kicker that Nick Saban described as the best in America in Will Reichard. And Arkansas does indeed get the stop, so Reichard will try and get Alabama on the board first. 46. Perfect. Arkansas gets a stop. Alabama settles for 3.
This year, we learned a lot about baking. Walmart makes it easy with groceries, gadgets, and so much icing. Let's end the year deliciously.
Baby, to get by. Bee Week on ESPN as we continue Jim Valvano's fight against cancer.
Welcome back to Fayetteville and the SEC on ESPN. Bob Wischusen alongside Dan Orlovsky. Chris Budden is with us as well. Well, Sam Pittman told us this week, Dan, you hate to say you're going to be chest bumping every time you hold this offense to 3, but that was an early win for Arkansas. That's a drive for Alabama that begins in plus territory and ends with a field goal attempt.
And it's a 3rd and short stop, right? Like that's so they get the ball on your side of the field, your defense keeps it in front of them, and then you make that 3rd down stop and force that field goal. An unquestioned win for that team.
And a fair catch is made by Dominique Johnson. That'll bring it out to the 25-yard line. And Chris, how about an Alabama injury update?
Yeah, we saw Christian Harris leave the field nursing a shoulder injury, spent some time in the medical tent, and then ran into the locker room. He is being evaluated further. The Alabama medical staff tells me that he is questionable to return today.
So that's the Butkus semifinalist, questionable to return to this game. Delayed handoff to Traylon Smith. He's got an alley. And he's got a first down and more. About 15 yards for Smith. Out to the 40-yard line.
It's always a great play. It's a sprint draw play. You run one side to the other, you get the defense to flow, and the draw right back against the grain.
And they play with tempo, and Felipe Franks flipping one to the sideline, but it floats out of bounds, out of the reach of Mike Woods. You know, playing with tempo, a little bit of a pick your poison against this Alabama defense.
Well, for sure, because if you're not scoring points, or if their offense is being efficient and Alabama's offense is scoring points, well, you don't want to continue to hang your defense out to dry. And so it's important for them to play with tempo, be efficient, and get completions like we just saw from Franks to Burks.
Traylon Burks wearing the number 10 of Davion Warren, who tore his ACL. So normally he wears 16, but wearing 10 in honor of his teammate today. And here's Felipe Franks off play action, flushed out of the pocket. Gets to the sideline and gets about 3.
And those are the big plays from Felipe today. You know, when you play with tempo, run the line of scrimmage, then you run that RPO, and it's not there, you cannot hold the football. The offensive line's thinking it got handed off. And you can't try to be something that you're not. Like that 3 or 4 yard run there is huge to keep them on schedule offensively.
Quarterback run. And Felipe Franks is spun down after a gain of a yard, maybe a yard and a half. Malachi Moore, the freshman. And that safety that learned the entire defense for Alabama on Zoom. And then, according to Nick Saban, came in and knew how to make the checks. Franks extending the play again. And he's able to flip one to Smith. All the way down to the 20-yard line. The ball pops out, but I think they will rule him down at the 20-yard line.
This is a great play by Felipe Franks to find Smith. Looks like that ball pops out as he hits the ground, but how about the creativity by Felipe? And then Smith just having the same kind of feel. The dangerous throw back across the field. Big conversion. They're getting into this stack for a specific reason. Is this a kick it out with a block in front to that receiver, send him in motion for Burks?
Traylon Burks motions into the backfield. Instead, it's a cutback run for T.J. Hammonds. So Arkansas trying to convert in the red zone. And we get word from Chris Budden that Christian Harris has now been ruled out for the rest of today's game. Obviously, the evaluation in the locker room didn't go well. Hammonds in motion. Play action. Felipe Franks looking back, and Traylon Burks got tripped up. A flag down on the play. Franks directing traffic, tried to squeeze one into a tight window to Trey Knox. We'll have to check the penalty marker.
I think they're going to get Will Anderson for Alabama holding or some form as Smith tried to leak out the backfield.
Holding against an eligible receiver, number 31 of the defense. 10-yard penalty for the previous spot. Automatic first down.
It's actually Burks in the backfield, the receiver. They fake it to him. He tries to leak out, and you see Will Anderson right there grab him.
So it's a half the distance penalty that moves it down just inside the 8-yard line. And it is a goal to go now for Arkansas.
See the aggressive mindset of Kendall Briles, the play caller for Arkansas. Second shot play they went to.
Traylon Burks fell as he went in motion. And now we've got a flag
start.
down.
Offense number 78. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
That's Dalton Wagner, the right tackle.
Watch the right tackle move right here.
Please put 8:22 on the game clock. 8:22.
It certainly bears mentioning that no Noah Gatlin at right tackle today for Arkansas. They're missing Ricky Stromberg, their center. So Sam Pittman's got a starting offensive line down 2 starters against as good a defense as he's seen this year.
And he said they just got to play as hard as they can and as smart as they can today.
Franks out of the flat. Burks makes the catch. Stiff arms him in inside the 10-yard line, back to about where they were before. So it will be second down and goal from the 8.
It's a great effort by Burks and by Trey Knox at that lead block.
On a rollout, it's Franks, and he goes down, forced back inside by Will Anderson, and he lost a yard. So now it's third down and goal at the 9.
This is probably one of those moments where you want Felipe to be a little bit creative if number 1 or 2 of the progression isn't there. You know, if you take a 4 or 5 yard sack here, you're okay. It's still a chip shot field goal. But if you can be creative with the football after the snap and try to free one of those receivers up, you want to take your chance against this Alabama defense.
Burks in the slot left. Franks looking that way. Instead, it's a check down underneath. No chance to get anywhere near the end zone, even if Trey Knox had come up with that reception. Daniel right there in coverage. And if you're Arkansas, I would think you've got to try to get the ball into the end zone here, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean,
this is disappointing to get to a goal-to-go situation and the ball never gets more than a couple of yards past the line of scrimmage.
As well as their defense did forcing that 3, you're not going to knock off Alabama kicking 3s, right? At the end of the day, when they play coverage, you also don't want to be careless with the football and reckless with it. So that's the right decision, and now they got the chance to even the game.
And it's Matthew Phillips. His first attempt of the season goes through in place of A.J. Reed, and we are tied at 3 early.
The "You've been dreaming about this car since you were 8" policy from American Family Insurance.
ESPN College Football is presented by Geico. You could save even more by bundling home and car insurance. And in part by Duluth Trading Company. Tough, ingenious workwear designed and tested by tradesmen.
One of the last seniors to come out for senior day, Grant Morgan, who is also on some finalists lists for awards as we take a look at today's Wake Up, Wendy's Weekend Wake Up, brought to you by Wendy's Breakfast. And a big one in the ACC between North Carolina and Miami. A test for Florida tonight as they will take on LSU. What game catches your eye out of that group most impactful the rest of the day?
Probably that USC-UCLA game. You know, I think that USC at least is trying to present itself to be a better team than right now it sits ranking-wise. Explosive offensively, so I want to watch them be able to play against the UCL team that seems to be a little bit better.
You got a kick out of bounds here from Phillips.
ball at the 35-yard line. First down.
So good field position for Alabama, and our first opportunity to say hi to Dan's bestie, Matt Berry.
Happy College Football Saturday, gentlemen. Time now for the Rocket Mortgage Studio update. Early defense out of Georgia. Eric Stokes, the interception. And on the ensuing possession, Dogs take advantage after the nice return. Kenny McIntosh would punch it in after the Georgia turnover. They just added another touchdown. It is 14-0 Dogs. Orlovsky, your mask was adorable.
I agree.
He's feeling himself today. Arizona State scored a couple points last night.
Mac Jones, there's the check down that you said would be there all day against a defense that wants to keep things in front of them. Miller Forrestal picks up 6.
Think about how challenging that is mentally for Mac Jones today, right? This offense has been explosive all season. They're launching the ball all over the field, big shots downfield. And Arkansas is going to do everything they can to not allow that. And so you kind of have to recalibrate your mind thinking, all right, if it's not there, my job is to get the ball out of my hands for those completions.
Slip on the cutback by Harris. So it brings up 3rd down and about 4.
This is where Alabama can go, okay, Devontae Smith, we can place you in a position where we can find the matchup that we love. We'll put you in a bunch or a stacked set, make the defense communicate, and then Mac, if it's not there, then you can work through your progressions. This is him right here. He's at number 3 in that slot, that bunch right there. He's going to start there and work across progression.
Here comes a 5-man rush. The blitz is picked up. That turns into an easy first down pitch and catch for Devontae Smith.
Watch the patience. The point man on the bunch goes vertical. Devontae's got great feel in that soft zone. Snaps his head around, and Mac knows exactly where he's going to be. First down, Alabama.
And now off play action, playing with some tempo. Mac Jones looking downtown. There's your shot play. But he overthrows Smith. Joe Fouché, that safety, was doing his best to try and stay with about as complete a receiver as you've seen in college football this year.
I mean, what do you want? Do you want great hands, route running, smarts, toughness, getting in and out of cuts, sudden, long speed? I can continue to go. I mean, Barry Odom, who's been around the SEC for a long time, and Arkansas's defensive coordinator, said he's the best wide receiver I've ever seen. And those are big words.
A throwback to Najee Harris for a couple of yards. So Alabama back in plus territory, but looking at a 3rd down. 3rd and 8.
And even in 3rd down, I know I've talked about this check down a little bit. Even in 3rd down, you can still understand if all those defenders, especially those second-level guys, are going to drop 12, 14 yards deep, those underneath guys, I'll get it out of my hands, get that completion, and then those guys can run after the catch.
The Tide might get a free 5 here. Eric Gregory jumped in the neutral zone. It's not what you want to do if you're Arkansas against the #1 3rd down offense in America.
Offside, defense number 50. The movement by the defense caused the offense to react. The penalty is 5 yards. It remains 3rd down.
Now, Dan, you are #1 because you're also not leaving yourself in 3rd and 8 all that often.
Correct.
This is normally a 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 team. And they've got 3rd down and 3 here.
He could bring his tight end in. There was a corner out there. He knows it's zone coverage.
A slip and a fall again. Having a tough time with the turf. As once again Harris loses his footing and it becomes 4th down. Just doesn't seem like he can keep his feet underneath him when he wants to cut.
Yeah, I mean, it may be something where you're trying to get longer cleats in there. You know, longer cleats to get a better grip.
And they're going to go for it on 4th down.
He's really trying to find space. You got space at the bottom of the screen in the slot and then space at the top with your tight end. Trying to figure out where that space is to attack it.
Only a 3-man rush. Long looping throw to the sideline, up over the head of Brian Robinson, and it's a turnover on downs. Arkansas takes over near midfield when we come back.
We drive everywhere to help our son reach his dream of becoming an elite swimmer. So we enrolled in the Know Your Drive program with American Family Insurance. It gives us discounts for safe driving and other benefits, like emergency roadside service, which comes in handy, no matter where his dreams take him. With Know Your Drive, save up to 20% and get closer to your dreams. American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly.
Something to believe. ESPN, home of the college football playoff, coming New Year's Day.
About as traditional a New Year's Day with the college football playoff happening on New Year's Day as we can ask for in college football. And Bill Hancock, the executive director of the CFP, had this to say: we are looking forward to the semifinals January 1st and the championship game January 11th and planning for them. They have been meticulous. They have kept the train on the tracks. And where will Alabama land? They've got the SEC championship next week against Florida, but first and foremost, Arkansas to deal with today. And off a very good performance last week against Missouri, our first look, Dan, today at KJ Jefferson getting a chance at quarterback.
Plays a little bit better in tempo and then adds to their quarterback run game offensively.
False start. Offense number 66. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
When you watched KJ Jefferson's performance last week against Mizzou, he put up the most yards through the air by a freshman quarterback for Arkansas since Nathan Dick against Mississippi State back in 2008. So it was an excellent performance. They'll hand one off here, and Smith will barrel forward for about 5, maybe 6 yards. What impressed you the most, though, when you watched last week's game?
I thought he played with confidence. He had really good eyes. He listened to his feet in the pocket when his feet told him, hey, you got to go. He got out of there, and then he threw the ball, really in the middle of the field really well.
Another false start.
False start on the offense, number 65. 5-yard penalty, remains third down.
And Chris, Felipe Franks, a rib injury last week. Was there any injury concern here as to why KJ Jefferson's taking over?
I've been watching him on the sidelines. He hasn't received any treatment, hasn't looked like he's been complaining of any injury. Sam Pittman told me before the game he's going to play him as long as he could. But when he practiced this week, there was still some soreness. So maybe just giving him a break.
Third down and 11. KJ Jefferson trying to get Arkansas set. 4-man rush, and that's incomplete on the slant. Looked like it was intended for Trey Knox.
You know what's one of the things I love about this Alabama defense and focused on their secondary? We talked about it, the communication. Think about all the shifting that just went on pre-snap there. You don't see one guy just hand signaling. It's everybody. All 4 or 5 guys in the secondary hand signaling, nonverbal communication, making sure everybody's on the same page. What's the call? What's the adjustment? Their communication is next level as a defense.
Devontae Smith with a cutback. Finds an alley right up the center of the kick coverage group for the Razorbacks, and he will not be touched. An Alabama touchdown. Our offense is struggling, no problem. Devontae Smith takes care of it on special teams.
How awesome is that? Just a special player. Get the ball in his hands, make big plays with it, and all he needs is a little bit of a crease, whether it's as a returner or a receiver.
Alabama with the 7-point lead.
Okay, look at all these bodies, okay? Look at all the Arkansas bodies that are going to be really on, 1/3 of the field. Now play it and be ready for the freeze. Now freeze it there. Look at, again, all those bodies Look at everybody that's left behind. Devontae really only got 3 guys here in the middle of the field, but look at all this crease that he has with the ability to go run down the field. There's so many guys committed to one side of the football field, lack of lane integrity, and now he only needs a little crease. That's a huge crease, and he puts 1 foot in the ground, makes that cut, and nobody is going to catch him with his straight line speed.
Yeah, much like you always talk about defensive lines. This is your gap, this is your gap, this is your gap. In kick coverage there have to be a couple of players that are responsible for the lane up the middle of the field, and no one was in it.
And that one just looked like there was like 2 clusters. There was a cluster of 5, and there was a cluster of 3 or 4. And so then most of your coverage unit is really relegated to 2 areas. And with any punt return unit, that's bad news. With one of the best players in the country and Devontae Smith, you're asking for that to happen. Now, credit Alabama makes a couple blocks, but you got to have that lane integrity, that responsibility in your coverage unit.
Another fair catch is made by Dominique Johnson, and another check-in with Matt Barrett.
Guys, we had some football weather in the Pac-12 early on. You had some brunch, kegs and eggs for breakfast, and you had Utah and Colorado. Jake Bentley to Solomon Ennis for the touchdown. Colorado undefeated, coming in 7-0, and Connor Bazelak just gets in for Missouri, down 14-0, now 14-7. Gentlemen, if you had 1 vote for an Alabama Heisman candidate, you giving it to Mac Jones or Devontae Smith?
It's a great question. I would give it to Devontae Smith, but I understand in a quarterback world why most would probably give it to Mac Jones.
I would probably give it to Devontae Smith as well. As much as I think of Mac Jones and how great his season has been, I think we underappreciate the people around quarterbacks way too much in football nowadays.
I think Sam Pittman was the one that said he would give it to Alabama's offensive line. Like 1 trophy, chop it up 5 ways. They got a lot of options. And give it to those 5 guys. Felipe Franks back in at quarterback, 2nd down and 8. And the pocket collapses, and down he goes. So it will be 3rd down and long as Phil Mathis gets in with the sack.
Here's the thing. Okay, you drop back to pass. No one's open today. You got to go right now. There's no hanging around in the pocket. You go get 3 or 4 yards. It may not be a splash run, but 3rd and 7 is a lot easier than 3rd and 12.
Here comes a blitz on 3rd and 12, and it'll be another sack. Will Anderson, the blitzing linebacker, buries Felipe Franks for a loss back to about the 15-yard line.
Anderson on the line of scrimmage outside. He's going to go those guys down. He's going to loop around inside. Anderson sets it. Now go. Run through that tailback that's got to pass off everything with that rush inside. And then Will Anderson has become such a weapon for them in their blitz package, coming off the edges and part of their games and stunts up front.
So Reed Bauer from inside the 5-yard line is going to try to keep it away from Devontae Smith, and it'll hop right into his arms. And again, great field position for Alabama, Chris Budden.
So Mac Jones doesn't just have football team goals, he has personal goals each day. He calls it his prize fighter day. A nutrition goal, hydration, mental, physical, kindness goals. If he gets that and he does it 5 days in a row and he completes all 5 of those, he knows he's ready for football Saturday. And this all goes into his love for Conor McGregor. We asked him, what is on the front of your lock screen on your phone? It's a picture of Conor McGregor holding up 2 belts. He said, I love his confidence and his cockiness. And his teammates say he's a little of the same. He's one of the biggest trash talkers on the team.
Well, it helps when you can toss it to Najee Harris with the stiff arm. Najee Harris with a 1st down and then some. He's got 17.
It's interesting when you talk to Nick Saban or Steve Sarkisian, their offensive coordinator, about Mac Jones. They say, what do you like? You ask, what do you like about him the most? And they say he's incredibly competitive. And they remember him running the scout team, and he would get so angry at missing a throw or throwing an interception that they knew, like, okay, this guy's got something to him, at least competitively, that is going to allow him to become, or at least the chance to become, the player that we thought in recruiting.
He's #1 in America in completion percentage and climbing the Alabama charts as well. Number 3 this year in the country in passing yards and passing touchdowns as well. And that's why basically in a nose-by-nose race with Kyle Trask for the Heisman. And that will take us down to the end of the first quarter. So Alabama with a special teams touchdown courtesy of Devontae Smith. That gives them a 7-point lead on the road at Arkansas, a week away from the SEC title game and a clash with the Gators.
The "You've been dreaming about this car since you were 8" policy from American Family Insurance.
Devontae Smith, I think, was complaining about this punt return right at the end. That little ankle turn there by backup tight end Nathan Bax. And I think Devontae Smith thought that was intentional and had something to say to the officials after the play was over.
I've seen a lot of football in my life. I'm not going to accuse, but it certainly looks like there's some intent behind that twist and roll in layoff.
Najee Harris about 2.5 yards shy of the first down, so it makes it 3rd down and a long 2, close to 3 to start off the second quarter. But Devontae Smith was able to shake off the ankle roll and got a little tape job maybe done.
Spat it up
during the timeout. 3rd down and 2.
I think Alabama can run the football here. Those safeties are high for Arkansas.
Harris looking for a cutback lane, and he lowers his shoulders and gets the first down. Another check-in with Matt.
All right, guys, I have our AT&T countdown to the CFP update. Remember, Northwestern in the Big Ten Championship, no matter what. They're playing today against Illinois. Touchdown to Charlie Mandiri. Remember, Ohio State not playing, but Northwestern gets a tune-up before next week's game.
Fighting my Greenbergs out to their early lead. I'm excited to watch that Northwestern team play against Ohio State. Obviously an enormous game for Ohio State in the college football playoff situation.
Mac Jones off play action. Over the middle, wide open Forrestal. Down inside the 6, close to the 5-yard line. It'll be 1st and goal.
Just watch the patience by Forrestal. Right side of the screen, 87. Block, block, block. Then Najee, you carry it out, clear it out, and then you just replace those dropping defenders. And that's the exact example. Mac, take your shot. And if it's not there, if Najee's covered up, we got someone coming underneath Forrestal, patient in that zone.
Najee Harris. He's tough to stand up, but Arkansas able to get him stopped inside the 5-yard line. Ladarius Bishop joined by Jalen Catalon.
Down here, Arkansas has got to ask themselves, okay, do we feel okay playing man coverage? You know, do we have someone we feel good enough playing man coverage on Devontae Smith? Because then you could commit more numbers to stopping that run. And if you don't, I don't think they do, that's when you got to play with some numbers on the back end and you become susceptible to the run game. You see down here, you got 2 people down here covering Devontae. That's less numbers towards the run.
Ryan Robinson tries to take advantage, breaks a tackle and gets to the 1. It will be 3rd down and goal. Now, is that something that Mac Jones is calling? Does he look out and see, my number 1 receiver clearly has numbers committed to him, I'm handing the ball off?
Or you can work a progression the other side for sure in the pass game. But yeah, if you see that 2 defenders over there, that safety high, you're going, okay, that's 1 less towards the run. We should be good in our run game here.
Now they load up with the extra tight ends. And the handoff to Harris. Easily done. His 21st rushing touchdown of the season. And the Tide extend their lead.
It's a great job by the left side of the offensive line for Alabama and the tight ends. Down block, you kick out, fullback lead up, and it's an easy run for Najee Harris. But that's set up set up by some third down conversions, though. You know, like Arkansas made them work for those points at least converting some third downs, making some runs, and then the physicality up front pays off.
Ties Trent Richardson at 21 touchdowns rushing, second most in a single season in Alabama history.
Kapow! A mobile plan that blows away all of those high-price plans. Introducing Boost Mobile's all-new Shrink It plan. The longer you stay, the less you pay. Start at just $45 per month. After 3 on-time payments, your bill shrinks to $40 per month. Then bam! After 3 more on-time payments, your bill drops to just $35 per month and stays there. The best part? Your bill shrinks, but your data amount doesn't. Plus, get a free LG Stylo 6 when you switch. All on our new upgraded network. Save with our new Shrink It plan. Boost Mobile.
ESPN College Football, presented by Geico, is brought to you by Popeye's Chicken Sandwich and Meineke, doing car care right.
Well, our condolences to the family of Ray Perkins. Alabama lost one of their own this week, a wide receiver back in the 60s, played for Bear Bryant, and then left the Giants to replace Bear Bryant. Cleared the way for Bill Parcells to take over the Giants in New York. Eventually, Ray Perkins would make his way back to the NFL, briefly to coach the Bucs as well. But the news coming this week that he passed away. Let's take a look at today's More Driven Moment, brought to you by Goodyear.
Well, it starts with Barmore and DJ Dale. That twist inside. Now win off leverage. Barmore gets leverage, and he finishes. But then it's a blitz package where you get all these stunts. Watch 31 up top. Willie Anderson's going to get on a tailback. Barmore, you clear out again, and then Will Anderson, you go beat that tailback who's not made to block you in protection. So good job by that defensive front, certainly winning with some talent, but also just some minor scheme adjustments to get those really advantageous one-on-one matchups.
Their pass rush in the first half so far has been about as effective as it has been this season. And that's without Christian Harris, who was lost to a shoulder injury on the opening play of the game. Play action for Franks, under pressure. The ball knocked out of his hands. It's loose, and it is scooped up by the Crimson Tide. Chris Allen gets the strip sack of Felipe Franks, and DJ Dale has the fumble recovery. Just like that, it's 1st and goal for the Crimson Tide.
Great job on the back end of Alabama, playing their coverage. Felipe's trying to make too much to happen. And then all the Alabama defenders running towards the football. Someone wants to get that scoop. You know, I talked about it. That's the danger of the run-pass option, is if you don't hand it off, go to throw, and it's not there, it has to get out. Like, those defensive linemen are coming. Your offensive line thinks, again, that the ball has been handed off. And credit DJ Dale for going after that football. And now Alabama with the short field.
Looks like Darian Dalcourt takes over at center for Alabama. Landon Dickerson getting his wrist wrapped on the sideline. 1st and goal at the 5. Here's Harris. Blasts up the middle at the goal line. Is he in? Yes. That is an Alabama touchdown. 2nd rushing touchdown in as many snaps for Najee Harris.
This is outstanding finish by Najee Harris. Catalon with a great hit coming up.
And the lead up to 3 touchdowns now for Alabama. So, Dan, you get the shortest of short fields, and you punch it in with maybe the #1 run back in America right now.
Outstanding finish by 22.
We drive everywhere to help our son reach his dream of becoming an elite swimmer. So we enrolled in the Know Your Drive program with American Family Insurance. It gives us discounts for safe driving and other benefits, like emergency roadside service, which comes in handy, no matter where his dreams take him. With Know Your Drive, save up to 20% and get closer to your dreams. American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly.
I talked about this Alabama secondary communication. It takes everybody. Arkansas starts in a 3-by-1 set, and they're going to motion. Watch these 3 defenders. Battle, Wright, and Job, okay? Watch the communication. The nonverbal, look at the hands, okay, we're all talking the same language, we're all on the same page. Here comes the RPO, slot defender, you're a man, corner safety, you play 2-on-1 on that receiver, and that allows Chris Allen to become essentially unblocked and go get the quarterback. It's the communication on the back end that allows them to play at the same level, the same defense, and there's no blown assignments because of it.
A couple of touchdowns for Harris, sandwiched around the strip sack and fumble recovery by the Alabama defense. How rare is that level of communication in a secondary in college football?
Incredibly rare. We see it every week where these big plays are given up because of that lack of communication. One guy does it, two guys don't, and then the big plays happen. The little things stand out for that secondary when it comes to that communication.
Nathan Perotti close to the 25-yard line on the return. Let's check in with Matt Barrett.
Speaking of little things in the secondary, how about a cover 2 go route for Colorado? Sam Norrie to Maurice Bell. Can't do anything about it when he threw it that perfectly. Colorado still playing for a Pac-12 championship, tied at 7.
That field looks pretty slick. Our field has looked a little slick today as well, and KJ Jefferson gets another opportunity here for the Hogs. Zone read trying to turn the corners. TJ Hammonds, he's got nowhere to go. Lost at least 3 yards. As the Tide were ready and waiting, Jordan Battle holds the edge and brings him down.
Yeah, you said it holds the edge. Like how composed was Battle there? Just, okay, I'm staying outside leverage, nowhere to go. Make that tackle.
Jefferson to the sideline. That's broken up. Tried to squeeze it into a very tight window to Traylon Burks.
You know, that was a really good play by Patrick Surtain. Like, KJ Jefferson tried to get him to move. He was staring towards the sideline in that cover 2 scheme to try to get him to bite, and he never did. Again, disciplined as a secondary and forces that bang-bang hit. Surtain's probably going to be one of those first-round corners that comes out of Alabama because of his traits and the way he's been coached.
And his bloodline's much like his dad. 11 years in the NFL. Here's quarterback run. Jefferson, well short of the first down. Nice open field tackle by Daniel Wright. That brings up 4th down.
Gosh, that's a great tackle. That's a great tackle by Daniel Wright. I mean, you're talking about, there's no one within 10 yards of either side of you. And just the way he breaks down on KJ Jefferson and kind of squares him up and forces him to make a decision and then closes on him.
Devontae Smith has already brought one back. The 80th non-offensive touchdown under Nick Saban for Alabama in a decade and a half. And this time it will roll dead at about the 28-yard line. So a good job by Bauer to keep it away from Devontae. And kick off your NFL Sunday with countdown at 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow here on ESPN. Before the Steelers and Bills square off, we're one-on-one with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. And then Monday Night Football, Baker Mayfield and the red-hot Browns hosting Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, 8 Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the ESPN app. And for Lamar, the numbers, they're ticked down this year compared to where they were in his MVP season last year.
It started with their offseason. Marshall Yonda, their Hall of Fame guard, retired. That hurt them. And then they went from a 3 tight end package to a 2 tight end package, and it just took some of their diversity away.
Mac Jones right up the seam. Squeezes one into John Mechie. Right to midfield, an Alabama first down.
So there's play action shots, and then there's play action chunks. This is a play action chunk. Hard ball, motion comes, hold those second level defenders, ball come out, Mac Jones, Mechie just sit in that soft spot, get it over those linebackers with a little bit of touch, and there's that chunk, that 20-yard completion that, you know, we talked about. It's very NFL-like when it comes to that stuff.
Robinson for about a yard. Yeah, the names that you mentioned, Kyle Shanahan, Arthur Smith, Matt LaFleur, that kind of a DNA NFL-wise in this offense.
It's a little different than college football. You know, college football is very RPO-based, the run-pass option-based. And I asked Steve Sarkisian, like, why so much your traditional, long-developing play-action plays? He said, well, when he came back to college football, he realized the safeties were at like 8 yards every play. Defenses were called and built to stop the RPO. And he said, I'm not going to allow safeties to play that way. Our offensive line's good enough, and we'll marry our run and pass together.
Ryan Robinson to the 43-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 3. We said in our open, you use best a lot when you talk about Alabama overall. And they are #1 in FBS in yards per play, the best third down team in America, and at over 49 points per game. You wonder how the Gators are ever going to slow this offense down to stay in the game next week, or are they simply going to have to go in the game saying we have to score 50 to win?
Yeah, I think they're going to have to first start with the question, can we handle the physicality of their offensive line? And I don't know if they can answer that as a yes.
One-handed catch for a first down by Brian Robinson. Bumper Pool knocked him out, but that was just good enough to move the sticks.
It's a great job by Mac Jones getting the ball out of his hands when he's hot. Catalon comes unblocked with that left side safety blitz, and Robinson, which is that one hand, reached back in a huge conversion for Alabama. Again, 3rd and short conversions.
Is that another neutral zone jump for Eric Gregory, or will this be a false start?
Offside, defense number 50. The movement by the defense caused the offense to react. The penalty is 5 yards. It remains first down.
Here's my thing. Watch the clap by Mac Jones and then the hand flash, the violent hand flash. Clap and flash. Matt Austin, who's with us, I believe, told us that's something that the officials want to call on the offense. They want the offense. He's not allowed to clap and flash in that intent manner.
Quick handoff to Brian Robinson, and let's bring in Matt Austin. Matt, where is that gray area between what the quarterback is allowed to do and what would be considered drawing the defense off?
Well, the quarterback can't do anything to simulate the snap. On normal plays, the quarterback, and this quarterback's doing it all day, he just snaps his hands, claps his hands, and waits for the snap. In 2 cases today, he has clapped his hands, thrust his hands forward. That's like a head bob. That's a false start. Should be on the offense.
Here's a hard play action fake, and there is the disciplined check down again to Brian Robinson, as Mac Jones wanted to go to the end zone, but it wasn't there. And so he takes what the defense gives him, and it's 2nd down.
So thank you, Matt, for clearing that up. So it's the simulation of the snap. And then, you know, I want to talk about that play for Mac Jones, because it's another good example of him going, okay, those second-level guys are 15, 16 yards deep. And I know that sounds easy for people at home, but to have the discipline to not make the throw and to take that check down is good.
Now he's got a shot down for the front pylon. This is a catch made by Mechie, and they will say it is a completion. Goal to go at the 2-yard line.
That sluggo seam, reset in the pocket, drive that ball to that sideline. Mechie gets 2 down. It's a good job by Mac of getting to number 3 in that progression and then having that arm strength to put that ball on that back shoulder to Mechie.
For this team to lose Jalen Waddle and still be every bit as good offensively as they were with Jalen Waddle. What depth. An end zone throw a little bit high for Jaleel Billingsley, but a flag thrown. Billingsley got tied up with Jalen Catalon.
I don't know, that ball is pretty high.
Pass interference, defense, number 1. Half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
He's a redshirt freshman, but he is the leader of this Arkansas defense and gets called here.
Catalon in the middle of the screen. Watch number 1, right at that S, that first S in Arkansas.
A handoff to Robinson. He's got a rushing touchdown. So 2 for Najee Harris, 1 for Brian Robinson, and Alabama has opened up. Extra point pending, a 30-3 lead.
Over that big left side of that offensive line again. You pull Ekiyor, and then Robinson with the finish at the goal line. The big play leads to the short field for Alabama's offense. And then again, that goal line, that front, the physical nature of their offensive line gets the job done.
Reichard with the point after. It was a slow start for Alabama, but they're looking a lot more like number one now.
This year, you got it done. Now Walmart can help check off your gift list with free curbside pickup, fast delivery from your Walmart store, or gifts shipped right to your door. Let's end the year celebrating.
Welcome back to the SEC on ESPN. Bob Wischusen, Dan Orlovsky, and Chris Budden bringing you the #1 team in America, looking very much like it. Alabama has opened up a 31-3 lead a little past the midway point of the second quarter at Razorback Stadium. Arkansas about to get the football back, but they need chunk plays on offense as they will start from their 25.
I love the fact that Alabama's using others to help Devontae Smith get open. Forrestall at the point. Okay, watch him arc release, wide and release. Devontae follow him. Those two defenders are going to be carried vertical, sit in that soft spot in that zone. Awesome. And then I talked about the space, right? You see that bunch with the motion. Everybody on the Arkansas defense, 9 out of 11 are from the middle of the field to one side. That's creating space for your run game. There's one person, Fouché, that safety is left from really half of that field to the boundary to force that tackle or try and make that tackle. That's creating space, Steve Sarkisian, for their offensive players.
KJ Jefferson at quarterback once again for the Hogs. Bobbles the snap, straight quarterback run. He's got 5. Brought down by DJ Dale. Arkansas got off to a pretty good start when they were on the script on their opening drive, but now that we've gone deeper into the game, Alabama's defense now seems to be dictating as Jefferson gets pounded down after a gain of about 3, so it sets up 3rd down and a long 2, close to 3.
I think the read and react part of this defense is what separates it. Like when they just play and don't think and just go to the football and trust their instincts, that's when they're at their absolute best. And I think that's what they've done differently over the last 6 weeks.
There's a stop right at the line of scrimmage on Traylon Smith as they tried to run for it on 3rd down and short. Nowhere to go. Christian Barmore gets the tackle. And here comes the punt group.
Watch 58. We've talked about him all game. Barmore, that swim over the top, shuts down that run. The pressure coming off that back end. The slant of the defensive line wins. I said it, like, if sometimes they think, you know, they try to see what's happening, and that has caused some issues, certainly in the early part of their season. Now that you're just reacting and playing instinctual and being put in positions to play that way, that's when this has really become a different defense over the last month of the season.
A high, short punt that takes an Arkansas roll down to about the 30-yard line. So Mac Jones back to work with a big lead when we return.
Repair your enamel with Pronamel Repair. Our most advanced formula helps you brush in vital minerals to actively repair and strengthen enamel. So you don't just brush to clean, you brush to build. Pronamel Intensive Enamel Repair.
Time now for today's Aflac trivia question. Aflac. All right, Dan Orlovsky, you're 0 for the season. 2 Heisman Trophy winners, and Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram for Alabama. What's the highest a quarterback has finished in Heisman voting?
Alabama quarterback. What's the highest it has finished in the Heisman voting?
We'll see if you stay 0 for the season.
I know
we
that
come
one.
up with our answer later. Could Mac Jones win it this year for the tie? He's right there with Kyle Trask and a little end around to Devontae Smith. Maybe easiest completion that Mac has this year. Let's answer it. Aflac. Our Aflac trivia question. What is your answer? The highest
I'm going to say
quarterback
3.
is finished? Okay, let's see. Let's see if you're right. After this run by Najee Harris. It's brought down by Catalan and Bumper Pool. about 2 yards shy of the first down. Twice Tua and A.J. McCarron came in second. So again, you stay 0 for the season.
I thought it was like a trick question. I thought
nice try.
I thought Tua at 2 was like the obvious answer.
And it was.
Yeah. Tua played really good last week in the second half, by the way. Had some ridiculously nice throws.
Play clock down to 5. 3rd down and 2. Harris patiently allows the blocking to form up on 3rd and short and finds a cutback lane for a 4-yard pickup and the first down. Well, here is right now where our ESPN.com Heisman Watch puts the race. Trevor Lawrence and Devontae Smith, they are in the rearview mirror, at least according to our straw poll. It's Mac Jones and Kyle Trask. It should come down to the SEC championship game, you would think.
Yeah, I mean, whatever team wins and quarterback plays well is probably going to be the winner. You know, if Alabama wins and Mac just plays okay and Kyle Trask plays out of his mind, you know, that could become, you know, where it becomes a dicier situation. But if Alabama wins that game, which I think they will, and Mac Jones plays good football, to really good football in that game, Mac Jones, I think, will win the Heisman Trophy.
He only has 111 yards passing today.
Yeah.
Now, not that this is anything that Nick Saban is going to be worried about.
Correct.
But does he need some stats padded in this game just to keep the statistical columns even with Kyle Trask if Trask goes out and has a big one?
Yeah, because he's what, like 8 touchdown passes behind Trask now and playing an LSU team that's beat up. Like, you could make that argument, but I don't think Trask is going to be 15-plus touchdowns ahead of Mac Jones before next week. And again, I think that because of the scene of next week and winning the SEC championship, if you play well in it, I think that would be hard to not give it to Mac Jones.
And it's a playoff game,
right?
You know, so it is the biggest stage. That and the ACC championship game are going to be the 2 biggest stages, at least to this point, in college football next week. 3rd down and 2 right at midfield. Coming up on 2 minutes to go in the half. Robinson, straight ahead run, easily picks up the first down. Down to the 42-yard line of Arkansas. Well, if Mac Jones can get his hands on the Heisman, it won't be the first time. He at least has had the pseudo experience on a recruiting trip to South Carolina back in June of 2015. He was able to hold George Rogers' old 1980 Heisman Trophy. And boy, that might be a how it started, how it's going type of a picture in a couple of weeks.
He's a really interesting guy to chat with. You know, he kind of made the point this week of like, listen, everybody thinks that playing quarterback at Alabama is easy.
Fires a strike, and it's in and out of the hands of Mechie.
Everyone thinks it's easy because, yes, there's a plethora of talent there. He's like, there's a ton of pressure every single day to be at your best. He's like, that pressure makes it difficult. Now, he's a guy that welcomes it, and he says pressure is a privilege, but that doesn't make it any easier, you know? And I thought that was a very interesting vantage point of him understanding, I know what's around me, but at the same time, the fact that I'm the quarterback at Alabama has forced me to be at my absolute best every single day, and it probably goes to those daily habits that Chris pointed out earlier in the game.
Swing pass to Mechie. Let's check in with Matt Barry.
Coming up on the Lexus halftime report, got a good one between Georgia and Missouri in the SEC. We'll get you ready for that one, show you highlights, plus UNC Miami, big one of the ACC. What are the keys to victory there? Northwestern, one half of the Big Ten championship on the field. Jesse and Joey join me coming up. Orlovsky, if you didn't know Tua in that question, I can't help you.
Yeah, you'd be the last person I'd go to for help in any situation, though, Matt.
That's not true. That's not nice.
No, but it's the truth. You know, I'm an honest person when it comes to Matt Barry and our friendship.
Matt Barry seems very dependable to me. And what is also very dependable, the decision-making of Mac Jones. Checks one down to Forrestal, and that picks up a first down.
Yeah, this is number 4 in the progression. Right, this is what quarterbacking is. Watch, start to the left. It's not there. Climb the pocket, listen to my feet, find Forrestal right in that soft spot, and turn him inside on that throw.
Jones, for a moment, lost his footing, finds Forrestall after he resets his feet. And that's good for 8 yards. So is Alabama destined to play on New Year's Day? You would think so. And you saw it pop up a moment ago, but a reminder that this year the playoff games are the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. And they will come your way. Traditional doubleheader on New Year's Day. Those are the college football playoff semifinals back-to-back.
What a remarkable job by basically everybody attached to college football that were here, you know, anticipating the college football playoff and it happening on schedule.
Play action. Jones has all day. Wide open. Down inside the 5-yard line is Slade Bolden. First and goal at the 4, inside of a minute to go in the half.
I talked about space, right? Look at the bunch up top, the trips up top. Okay, now you wrap it all the way across the field. Now freeze it. Devontae's going to take 2 guys out here. Look at all that space that you now have for that crossing route because you put that trips into the boundary from the right hash. It's an awesome job by Steve Sarkisian again of creating that space for their offense.
Jones again with all day. Extending the play and makes the decision to throw it away. And I guess it all goes back to those big 5 guys up front as well, right? I mean, you've got all day if you're Mac Jones to allow that route concept to come together because you're standing behind the great wall. I mean, there's no one's coming through to put pressure on you.
Think about it. That slot receiver that's into the boundary, he's going to run probably close to 40 yards through traffic. That's going to take 4 seconds or so plus to allow it to develop. And you got to have good eyes as a quarterback and discipline as a quarterback, and then you know, that touch, that over-the-top throw to be able to make, and Mack has that in his game.
A handoff to Robinson, reaching for the goal line, and it looks like he's in. His second rushing touchdown.
Watch Billingsley, 19 lead block, wrap around underneath, the push by the offensive line, and then Robinson with that right arm reach before Mason comes in and makes that hit. Kind of saw a little bit of everything on that drive. Run game, play action chunk, quarterback holding on to the ball and throwing it to areas on the field that are uncovered, and then again the opportunity or the ability to finish at the line.
Alabama's 4th rushing touchdown of the first half. And they are pouring it on. 38-3 with a half minute to play in the second quarter. Next Saturday, we will get you set for that SEC championship matchup between the Gators and the Tide. SEC Nation, hosted by Laura Rutledge. They'll break down that game and all the SEC games next weekend. SEC Nation, presented by Dr. Pepper, 10 a.m. Eastern on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. And also, you should head to ESPN Plus and check out The Inheritance of Archie Manning, narrated. We saw a great feature earlier today on game day, and obviously written by Wright Thompson. Just a definitive story of Archie, and just as important, the story of his family, including his grandson Arch, who right now is about as sought after a high school prospect as there is in the country. ESPN Plus is your home for more than 3,000 premium articles a year from ESPN's top writers like Thompson, Matthew Berry, Mel Kiper Jr. Boy, Wright Thompson, it's as much of a treat to read his article as it is to listen to him narrate the pieces that he writes.
I'd go get ESPN Plus to hear Wright Thompson go through my phone log. I don't care what it is, just to hear him talk about something is worth it.
It's so rare to have the writer who is able to narrate his own pieces and sound like every bit kind of the central casting narrator that you'd want to read the piece as well. And he's Wright Thompson's the complete package.
I always look forward to his Masters stuff. Like when he talks over Augusta and the Masters stuff, Heisman stuff, like there's nothing better than listening to him talk about that.
False start called against Arkansas, as once again they are mistimed at the snap.
False start, offense number 62, 5-yard penalty, it remains first down.
Arkansas had this game for Sam Pittman tied at 3 early, but The Tide have rolled since then. Braylon Smith for about 5 yards, and if Alabama opts not to use a timeout, that may end the half. Let's see if Arkansas gets another snap off. And if they choose to snap it again, down 38-3, and they will let KJ Jefferson give it to Smith one more time. He'll go over the top of the pile, and that should take us to halftime. A dominant performance by Nick Saban's #1 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. We'll send you to the studio. Matt Berry, Jesse Palmer, and Joey Galloway will be standing by with the halftime report.
Jeff?
Welcome back to ESPN College Football, presented by Geico and the SEC on ESPN. Just about set for the start of the third quarter in Fayetteville. All Alabama 38-3. Bob Wischusen alongside Dan Orlovsky. Chris Budden is with us as well. This is a game that started off with some promise for Arkansas. Hard to believe, based on where the scoreboard is now, that was the case. But inside of 3 minutes to go in the first quarter, it was a 3-3 game. What happened?
Yeah, they were playing good. They were playing hard. And what happened was Alabama just has some special players. You know, it really started with Devontae Smith and that punt return that kind of, you know, put some energy back into the football team. And then Alabama just started to overwhelm them, whether it was their run game, which was physical, the play action game got going on. They hit some big chunks. Their defense was dominant. So credit Arkansas. They came out and played really well and hard early on. But Alabama's the #1 team in the country, right? We talked about it before the game and how talented they are and how physical they are as a football team. And that just kind of overwhelmed Arkansas.
Again, looking at how the first half played out, any team in America better in the trenches on offense or defense than Alabama?
And we've had them. You know, outside of Notre Dame, we've had them. I can't honestly say that I think anybody can, for the length of a football game, handle Alabama's offensive line's physicality. And I think that's the question anyone's going to have to answer.
A dropped ball down inside the 5-yard line by Brian Robinson. So it's going to be the long field for the Crimson Tide to start off here in the third quarter.
We talked about this Alabama offense, the run and the pass mixed together. Here's this play action pass. High safeties, 3 cloud. Where's the soft spot? In between those hashes. Great eyes by Mac Jones. Hook it up, Mechie. Get over that linebacker. Beautiful chunk. Now, Devontae Smith, you're a great player. You take 2. We're going to put trips into the boundary crosser. Come from one side of the field all the way to the other. Look at all of that area that you've now created that you can throw that ball up over another second-level defender. So their run game is everything, but then also how they marry it and then create that space for some of those chunk plays is outstanding for this offense.
And they'll start off the second half with a Robinson carry for 4 yards. And, you know, that graphic, to me, illustrates how well coached Alabama is. Now, Arkansas, we talked about, their first drive was good. Got off the script. They really struggled after that. Alabama, you're going to come out and script your first, 10 or 15 plays. They struggled on their first couple of drives, and then it only got better after that when they made whatever adjustments were necessary.
That's also a reason why identity as an offense is such a big deal. You know, they know who they are. They know that they can be a pound-it football team that can use that play-action pass.
Mac Jones, he has looked for Miller Forrestall a bunch so far in this game. He's got 6 catches on all 6 of his targets, up to 51 yards total.
And one of the things for Alabama's offense is, you know, they do a lot of things really well. You know, some offenses in college football, like, we want to be excellent at 2 things, right? They do 10 things really, really, really well. And Steve Sarkisian thinks that makes them actually more difficult to defend because defenses have to pay attention to so many different scheme things in their offense.
Robinson for 3 more yards. Tripped up by Eric Gregory. Let's check in with Chris.
Well, spoke with Nick Saban at halftime, and he's not one to overly celebrate a 35-point lead going into the half. Said, thought we started slow, but I like the way we picked things up. Defense played well. You talk about Saban, the way he finds ways to motivate his guys in kind of cold early games like this. He told me one, our goal is to go win 10 games in the SEC. That's never been done. But I also thought it was interesting what he told us yesterday about when he was with the Dolphins and he would get video of guys, and he's like, I never knew what their opponents were, so go play.
That's a great point, that if you're scouting from an NFL standpoint, he told us I would get cut-ups of players. And I told my guys, when you get a cut-up of a player in the National Football League, all I'm looking at is your play all put together on a string of plays. There's no score up in the corner of the screen. There's no clock up in the corner of the screen. So I don't know, when I'm looking at a cut-up of you from a scouting standpoint, if it was 13-7 with 5 minutes to go in the game or 60-0 at halftime. I'm just looking at your effort, and that's how I'm making a decision about you as a player on the check down to Slade Bolden. And there are a lot of guys, obviously, every year on Alabama's roster that are thinking their cut-up is going to put them in the National Football League. And, well, he's right there tied with the greatest.
I think the big thing is understanding that your effort should never be tied to your circumstances, right? Like where the situation of the game is, what the score is, like, he doesn't care. You know, he wants you to play the way the principles of their program, the principles of how that you have been brought into this program and the things that you've been taught are important. He wants those to reign more than, hey, we're up or down.
Freshman Javon Baker on a wide receiver screen, met by Jalen Catalon. And boy, does this redshirt freshman have a big future in front of him.
Yeah, Catalon's an All-American. Jalen Catalon can start for any team in the country, I'd say. Any single team he could start. His aggressive play, his instincts, the violence that he plays with. He's a Thorpe semifinalist. I think the last guy to do that was Atwater for Arkansas. So just a remarkable player, and he's got a bright future at Arkansas.
Here's Mechie. He lost his footing after he picked up about 3. Well, I thought the story that Sam Pittman told us about Jalen Catalon earlier this season was really emblematic of, as a redshirt freshman, how he's perceived. He said, I get the job, and I'm standing on the sideline with Barry Odom during practice, and I said to him, this kid, like, he's really good. And Barry Odom said,
hopefully he comes back.
Yeah, he's a freshman. He goes, he's a freshman? Yeah, he's a freshman. He redshirted last year. This is his first year. He said, I had no idea that he was a freshman. That is how in charge of our secondary he was. And there he is lurking and coming on the blitz. They throw right behind the blitz. And with a crease, it's Mechie. Down inside the 30-yard line to the Arkansas 29.
Watch Mechie off the line of scrimmage. Interior blitz. Patient freeze him. Put that left foot in the ground. Cross his face and then run away from defenders. Go laterally when it's man-to-man coverage, away from those defenders. Something I love about these Alabama receivers, they never catch the ball standing still. They're always catching the ball on the move. 1, because that's the scheme design, and then 2, they're really, really good route runners, and the ball comes out on time.
Play action. Jones looking downfield, and once again, it's a check down to Robinson. 6 more yards. Inside the 25, down to the 23-yard line goes Brian Robinson.
Just imagine as a defense now, you know, like you're getting this pound it run game, you're stepping up towards that run, and then there's just these creases in your defense.
Robinson finds another crease into the red zone with a first down to the 15-yard line.
And so it really forces you to do 2 things as a defense. It forces you to be willing to play physical football, right? You got to be playing physical football at really all 3 levels. But then you also have to have great discipline, because you want to honor the run but not buy the run, right? You want to honor it but not completely sell out because of all those play action pass game that Alabama can throw at you. Listen to that conversation, the center and Mac pointing out who they're going to.
Robinson drives to the 10-yard line. 5 more. Catalon in on the tackle, along with Greg Brooks. Isaiah Nichols as well.
One last thing I'll throw out there about Jalen Catalon, because he's in on that tackle again, is when you talk to Sam Pittman and Barry Odom, what they love about him the most is they said every day's game day to him. Like, you go watch him at practice, and he is full speed like it's Saturday at 1 o'clock, and his effort on practice has so impacted their football team.
Jones again in the flat. That's a short gain to Jace McClellan. It'll be 3rd down. And Mac Jones today has not gone downfield for those chunk plays. Hasn't needed to, but again, doesn't that show the maturity and discipline of a veteran quarterback? 24 of 29, all in the under 20-yard range.
Yeah, decision making, and then the ball goes where it's supposed to go, right? Those are 2 trademarks of really good quarterback play. I don't care what you want out of the play. This is what the defense is allowing you to do, and do that with the ball.
Jones out of the pocket, stays behind the line of scrimmage, dodges a sack, sidearms one towards the goal line, and Catalan picks it off. Gets all the way out to the 42-yard line before he's caught from behind by the freshman Jace McClellan, who may have saved a touchdown. Only the 4th interception this season for Mac Jones, but the 14th for the Arkansas defense.
That's Catalan right in the middle of the field there. Mac Jones is going to set his feet. Nothing there. He's going to try to scramble around. Try to do too much. Watch Catalan undercut. Interception for Arkansas. Talked about him all drive there. The All-American shows up in the red zone. Pick Arkansas.
Every morning at 4:30, you hear the cooks hop on the floor. It's hard times in the mill, my love, hard times in the mill. Every morning right at 6, don't that old bell make you sick? Hard times in the mill, my love, hard times.
Mac Jones intercepted by Jalen Catalan, but as our friend Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend, because the replay booth has initiated a possible targeting right there on Hayden Henry. Mac Jones, he is going down, and he is a defenseless player, although that may not even be the issue with this possible targeting, because Hayden Henry, Dan, it seemed, lowers his head and launches with the crown of the helmet. And if you initiate contact with the crown of the helmet, you don't have to be defenseless if you're Mac Jones. It can still be targeting, and it looks like that may be the case.
Yeah, as always, well done by you. I think that's what stands out, right? The leading with the crown of the helmet and the contact to the head are probably going to be what gets called here against Hayden Henry, which is unfortunate because it takes away that awesome interception by Jalen Catalan.
After further review, number 27 of the defense made contact with a defenseless player in the head or neck area. By definition, that's a targeting foul. Therefore, number 27 is disqualified for the remainder of the contest. That will also result in a penalty for the previous spot. It will be 1st and 10 at the 4.5-yard line. The ball will be placed on the left hash.
So they went with the initial version of targeting, which is forcible contact to the head or neck area of a defenseless player, and Henry did it with the crown of his helmet, so he pretty much checked all the boxes. Now, Grant Morgan, already out of this game. He was the #1 tackler in college football coming into today, the Mike linebacker, but he hurt his knee last week against Missouri. So Hayden Henry, as his backup, was playing in place of Grant Morgan. So now Arkansas is down 2 of their top linebackers. So it will be Bumper Poole and a combination of Dion Edwards and Andrew Parker for the rest of the day, and that also gives the ball back to Alabama inside the 5-yard line.
To be honest, I just feel bad for Hayden Henry, senior, right? Like senior, last home game more than likely. The Henry family that has a rich tradition here at Arkansas, so a little bit unfortunate that happens to the senior, but it's the right call.
Brian Robinson at the goal line, and for the 3rd time in the game, he is in for a rushing touchdown for Alabama, and they extend their lead.
Again, just watch the push by this offensive line. Deontay Brown pulling, Billingsley leading up, Ekiyor finishing at that goal line again, and then Robinson You know, when they want to get some yards, that tough yardage, they pull people. They pull those two guards, Deontay Brown or Ekiyor, and it's a tough offensive line to handle.
Reichard right down the middle, 45-3. The Tide very much rolling.
Every day you're eating acidic foods. You're constantly weakening that enamel structure. Pro Enamel Repair allows more minerals to penetrate deep into the enamel layer, and it repairs it. It is pretty phenomenal.
2 semifinals. New Year's Day. The College Football Playoff lives on ESPN.
ESPN College Football, presented by Geico, is brought to you by Disney Safety, now streaming on Disney+.
Will Mac Jones join the group with Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry and become a Heisman Trophy winner? Through 10 games in their respective potential Heisman seasons, here's how Mac Jones and Kyle Trask both stack up with where Joe Burrow was last year. Dan, after 10 games, what numbers jump out when you take a look at that comparison?
Yeah, the yardage and obviously the touchdowns. You know, now seeing that Kyle Trask is 11 touchdowns ahead of where Mac sits right now, and you know, we're into a third quarter. I don't think Mac's going to get a couple touchdowns here and probably going to get a couple tonight against LSU. It probably is Kyle Trask's Heisman Trophy to lose.
Now, if Mac,
because he is so far ahead.
But if Mac Jones is beating Kyle Trask in completion percentage,
correct,
and in yards, is just the touchdown column that compelling for you to say, well, Kyle Trask is now, you know, a couple of lengths ahead?
No, because so often you can get a ball down to the 1 or 2 yard line, and for Mac Jones, that might be a handoff touchdown for their offense, and Kyle Trask, it might be a touchdown pass, you know, so I think that the 15 touchdown difference, I said in the first half, like he's not going to be up 15 touchdowns, and he very well might be. You know, I think that would be such a wide gap going into next week that it'd be difficult to jump that, I think.
Well, our own Heisman Watch coming into today has Kyle Trask and Mac Jones basically in a dead heat. Maybe a little bit of an advantage to Mac Jones. He got 6 first-place votes as opposed to 5 for Trask. Jefferson into the flat. Traylon Smith, and there is a flag down, and that is ruled incomplete.
I get a Heisman vote this year. My first time ever doing it, yeah. I'm pretty excited for it.
You're elite.
Holding on the offense, number 62. That penalty will be declined. It's 3rd down.
How long you been covering college football for ESPN?
3rd year.
Wow, I'm 15 years, 17 years in. I do not have a Heisman ballot. I guess it's all that mug time on television. Yeah, whatever buttons you could push on my behalf, I'd appreciate it.
I think that
Jefferson, he'll be sacked again by Barmore.
I mean, after today, I might give it to Barmore.
Yeah, he has been unblockable.
And Barmore has been a problem up front. The sophomore inside, working inside on these twist games. There you see it again. Now he gains leverage on that offensive tackle and just bull rushes him. Falls off and sacks KJ Jefferson. Okay, if I'm voting right now, I think I'd have to give my number 1 Heisman spot to Devontae Smith. I think that Mac Jones and Kyle Trask are really good quarterbacks on the 2 of the best 5 or 6 teams in college football. But the best player in college football, I think, is Devontae Smith.
That's what the award is supposed to be.
Right.
The best player in college football, and he has been every bit the impact receiver for Alabama.
So you're a business that's thriving. But then, don't just bounce back. Bounce forward with serious and reliable gig speed internet. But is it secure? Sure, it's secure.
So how do I do this?
We do this together. Bounce forward with Comcast Business.
Do this don't give up thing all by myself. This whole fight, this journey thing is not a solo venture. This is something that requires support.
Well, in memory of the late Stuart Scott and so many that the V Foundation has tried to and has helped over the years. And during these challenging times, ESPN and the V Foundation's fight against cancer has not stopped. So if you are able, please support cancer research by visiting v.org/donate. 100% of what you give goes to cancer research, as the true freshman Bryce Young takes over for Mac Jones at quarterback. So with the score 45-3 and a lot of time out in front of an Alabama team that's got the SEC championship game ahead of them next week, we already have been informed that Najee Harris is done for the day. We saw him stretching out his legs in the first half, and on a slippery field in a game that's out of hand, they're going to be cautious with their franchise running back and their top quarterback. And so the freshman Bryce Young takes over at quarterback and hands to another freshman, Jace McClellan, who picks up 2. So Bryce Young, our #1 dual threat quarterback and the #5 overall quarterback recruit in this past year's recruiting class, according to our ESPN recruiting guys. California Gatorade Player of the Year. All he did in high school was throw for 152 touchdowns and 13,000 yards.
Comes from a program that's got a reputation for not being bad either in Mater Day.
And Arkansas is going to test him, try to heat him up, but the pass protection is perfect. It is an incompletion, though, on 3rd down and 6. Try to find Xavier Williams.
Good little rep there, though, for Bryce Young. You saw him kind of run the line of scrimmage, saw Catalon coming up with the potential pressure. Now he's telling Xavier Williams, like, hey, just a little quicker. Ball placement was good, so nice to see for the young freshman, that 3rd down rep.
Catch made at about the 25-yard line by Parodi. Well, next Sunday, we'll have the exclusive reveal of the college football playoff matchups for the Rose Bowl and the All-State Sugar Bowl to be played on New Year's Day. Those are our playoff games this year. Reese and the guys will unveil the New Year's 6 as well, have the final top 25 rankings in a 4-hour special. It all starts at noon Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. And why not take a look at our college football playoff rankings, brought to you by AT&T 5G. Ohio State, Michigan canceled for this season, so Ohio State is going to go into the Big Ten championship game against Northwestern. As getting to the outside is KJ Jefferson, and he picks up a couple of yards on that scramble. And if Ohio State runs the table, it only means one more win. Right. 6-0 into what will turn into Selection Sunday next week for the College Football Playoff Committee.
Well, here's the like where it would become very interesting in my eyes is if Ohio State beats Northwestern next week 17-14. You know, not an overwhelming offensive performance nor a victory. Does Texas A&M then have a gripe to go, we deserve it just as much, or we're just as good as that #4 spot? You know, that's where I think it would become very interesting for Texas A&M fans.
A yard on the dive for Traylon Smith is good for a 1st down. I guess the question I would have, Big Ten championship game with Ohio State only playing their 6th game of the season.
Right.
The SEC championship game, Florida, Alabama. The ACC championship game, 2 teams right now that if the playoff were today would be in.
Correct.
Notre Dame and Clemson. Which of those 3 games has the potential to be the biggest monkey wrench and throw chaos into a Selection Sunday? Jefferson off play action, flips one up the seam and can't connect with Blake Kern.
All right, so I think Alabama is in a good position to beat Florida. I expect that to happen. I think Ohio State will beat Northwestern. If Clemson beats up on Notre Dame.
And they're a double-digit favorite right now.
Like if Clemson with Trevor Lawrence beats Notre Dame by 2+ touchdowns, then does the committee look at Notre Dame and going, wait, your win against Clemson was without Trevor Lawrence? You know, like that might, again, create a conversation of does Notre Dame is...
See, to me, the one result out of these three that would create the most mayhem if Florida beats Alabama.
Correct, but I don't, that's why I don't think that's a, I'm trying to look at like what I think has the most realistic chance to happen, outcome-wise.
I'm sure Gator Nation right now is thrilled with you. Low snap, Jefferson scoops it up. And his composure and eyes downfield creates a hookup with Mike Woods.
This is really awesome by KJ Jefferson. You talk about hanging in the pocket, gathering a bad snap, bodies all around you, and then finding Woods for that completion. That's a really, really good play by the redshirt freshman.
They'll run a little option here, fake the pitch, and get pounded and lose the football. And it looks like Alabama's got it on a takeaway. And KJ Jefferson's holding his left knee. Byron Young came up with the fumble recovery. And KJ Jefferson, the redshirt freshman, just off of making the best play we have seen him make today on that hookup with Mike Woods, is shaken up. He is not able to put any weight at all on that left knee as we take another look at the replay here. A nice fake, but on that hit, the ball was knocked out by Jalen Moody, recovered by Byron Young. But he falls awkwardly, and the left knee obviously hurt.
Certainly hope he's okay. You know, Sam Pittman, when you asked him about where the team was in relation to maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, KJ Jefferson was someone that he singled out and said, you know what, we think we might have a quarterback that we're really excited for when it comes to his future. And so you just hope that KJ Jefferson's okay.
And we'll see who goes in at quarterback now for Arkansas with Jefferson hurt. Back to the offense, the true freshman Bryce Young. Swings one out wide to another true freshman, and Javon Baker gets to the sideline and has a first down.
Good for some of these young receivers for Alabama to get these reps with Bryce Young. You know, if Mac Jones decides to go into the NFL, Bryce Young looks to be the future at that position. And they're also really young at wide receiver.
His handoff to Chase McClellan, picks up about 5. And this might be a dumb question when you are projected to be maybe a back end of the first-round pick, but a first-round pick in Mac Jones, according to Mel Kiper and Todd McShay. Is there any reason for Mac Jones to come back to Alabama and play one more season?
No, absolutely not. And also, when I go left tackle senior, left guard senior, center senior, no.
Good point.
You know, like the fact that that offensive line is senior dominant, especially on that left side, I'm okay leaving. You know, I think that Mac Jones has had this meteoric rise in many ways ever since he took over for Tua last year, and his play has been so enticing. There's a lot of strengths to his game. I think there will be some parts of his game, weakness-wise or flaw-wise, that the NFL will look very specifically to. You know, if you look at him as a player, nothing really off script. He's really good in the pocket. He's got this strong, decisive, and sometimes explosive arm. Super efficient, you know, get through progressions. The ball comes out where it's supposed to. He's got great, like, see it, trust it, and rip it. That receiver's there. He trusts what his eyes are telling him, and that ball comes out. Reminds me a lot of a Matt Ryan type of player. Now the flaw, or the thing that I think will hold him back, is the lack of athleticism outside the pocket. You've heard me say this. You have to be able to do that at the NFL level at quarterback right now. And the lack of the suddenness outside the pocket will be something like Matt Ryan is a better athlete than Mac Jones. And I think that will be a difference maker when it comes to where he falls in that first round.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you about how you have to play quarterback in the NFL when we come back.
Okay.
I love telling you why you're wrong and being so sure as to why I'm right. Where is Mac Jones as an NFL prospect? Talk more about that as Alabama rolling against Arkansas.
So you're a business that's thriving. But then, don't just bounce back. Bounce forward with serious and reliable gig speed internet. But is it secure? Sure, it's secure.
So how do I do this?
We do this together. Bounce forward with Comcast Business.
Welcome back to ESPN College Football, presented by Geico and the SEC on ESPN. Set for the start of the fourth quarter. And some younger players getting an opportunity to play for Nick Saban and get some valuable playing time before the vets, off of a little bit of rest, get set for the SEC championship game. And that's tough to see as KJ Jefferson, nursing that left knee injury, is walking back to the locker room. So it is freshman to freshman again here, as Bryce Young getting an opportunity to run the team at quarterback off to Roydell Williams, who picks up a couple of yards. So you said Mac Jones, if there's one thing that you think hurts his NFL possibilities, again, it's what?
Just the playmaking outside of the pocket. You know, the ability to kind of be a creator. No, I think yet you have to be explosive at that position with your playmaking ability. If you look at all the young quarterbacks that are dominant in the NFL right now, it's Patrick Mahomes. Right now, Josh Allen's playing incredible football. Aaron Rodgers has always made remarkable plays out of the pocket. I think like the traditional pocket passing quarterback is in many ways a little bit of a dinosaur in the NFL right now.
Steelers are what? What's their record?
11-1.
And who's their quarterback?
Ben Roethlisberger.
I mean, you describe him as a dynamic player with his legs?
Well, he was when he went into the NFL and crafted his Hall of Fame career. Right now, absolutely not.
Understood, but I guess
that also limits their offense.
But they're 11-1. But there at least is some evidence there that you can play the way Ben Roethlisberger or Drew Brees plays and be a team that right now are thought to be arguably the two #1 threats to go to the Super Bowl in their respective conferences. I just think there's room, as this ball is fumbled and it looks like it's going to end up with Joe Boucher of Arkansas. I think there's room for you to play unlike Patrick Mahomes, but still be a really good NFL team. And a good NFL quarterback.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't think that makes you a first-round pick at quarterback then. You know what I'm saying? We'll get into this more, I'm sure.
I look forward to fighting with you.
Mac Jones' football career began as a 9-year-old on the Jacksonville Pop Warner team. Him and his family continue to be big supporters of the Outlaws. They've donated money. This week, Mac sent them a video wishing them good luck on the national championship game. And on Wednesday, the Forestville Outlaws won it all, bringing home the championship trophy. And they wanted to send this special message to Mac.
Deontay Hampton, head coach of the Forestville Outlaws. Mac Jones, thank you for all your support.
Mac Jones, bring the national championship back home. Outlaws, roll tide!
The Outlaws went a perfect 12-0 this season. They've got the hardware, and they have a new fan in Mac Jones as well.
And they got the roll tide on camera, too. That was well done. Felipe Franks, by the way, is now back in at quarterback for the injured KJ Jefferson. It's a tough spot for him to jump back cold off the bench, but he's able to dive ahead and pick up 8 yards here.
I'm I'm going to finish my argument with Mac Jones, and I'm going to bury yours. Okay?
You're saying you're going to finish it,
Yeah.
but it will
Again,
not be finished.
You brought up Big Ben Roethlisberger. No, at 39, he's not a dynamic playmaker, but that's what he was known for the great majority of his career. Do I think you can win games in the NFL and play really good football from your traditional pocket passing mindset? Yes, it stresses a little bit more of your coaching and your scheme. It minimizes what you can do. You can still do that. That being said, to be a first-round draft pick at that position, you have to be a guy that goes above the X's and O's. You have to be a creator. You got to be a guy that can kind of create your own offense after the snap. The Kyler Murrays, again, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen's, Tua. You got to be able to do that stuff after the traditional progression or pass concept is covered up.
And I would agree, if I've got the first pick in the draft, I'm taking Trevor Lawrence. Sure. Or the second pick in the draft, I'm taking Justin Fields, because those guys can do that. But what we've not just seen from the dinosaurs, I mean, right now Ryan Tannehill is in the heart of his career. Not a running quarterback. Jared Goff got to a Super Bowl. He's a pocket passing quarterback for the most part. Tom Brady, obviously at the tail end of his career, and Ben Roethlisberger and Drew Brees, they may be dinosaurs in terms of their age now, but why can't you draft the guy that you think could be the next guy to play like them and win? Because they are showing right now you can still play like that and win in the NFL.
Yeah, I would argue that Tannehill's not a runner. I think he's a big-time athlete. The Goff comparison I will give you, I think that's a fair comparison. Now, Goff is a very fluid, natural, and like his accuracy, natural thrower, and his accuracy is like a separator. He's also with Sean McVay, who's one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. Mac, while having a lot of good physical traits, isn't the natural thrower that Goff is, isn't the accurate thrower that Goff is. And so, again, you can still do it, but to be a first-round pick at that position.
So you don't think Mac Jones or Kyle Trask will go in the first round?
I think that I don't think so, no. I mean,
if they don't go in the first round, they'll go very high in the second round.
Yeah, I think they're early second-round picks. I don't think that they will be first-round picks. Now, maybe someone hops back into that last 4 selections, but I think they'll be early second-rounders.
Timeout called by Felipe Franks before third down and 2, so we'll step aside for just a moment.
So you're a business that's thriving, but then, don't just bounce back. Bounce forward with serious and reliable gig speed internet. But is it secure? Sure, it's secure.
So how do I do this?
We do this together. Bounce forward with Comcast Business.
ESPN College Football is presented by Geico. You could save even more by bundling home and car insurance. And in part by Duluth Trading Company. Tough, ingenious workwear designed and tested by tradesmen.
For the 10th time next Saturday, Alabama and Florida will meet in the SEC Championship game. And then December 20th, we will find out on the Selection Show, presented by AT&T, who will play in the Rose Bowl and the All-State Sugar Bowl. That on January 1st is our college football playoff semifinal doubleheader. And of course, that will determine who plays in the national championship game, presented by AT&T 10 days later. But this year, it is the Rose Bowl and Sugar Bowl. That will determine the college football playoff championship matchup. And it starts at 5 Eastern on New Year's Day. So after the timeout, Felipe Franks sends Mike Woods in motion and rolls in that direction on third down. Under pressure, and down he goes again. Shane Lee gets the sack, and let's check in with Matt.
All right, guys, Georgia has poured it on against Missouri. James Cook takes it in, 49-14 Dogs. In Orlovsky, you are dead wrong. 3 quarterbacks pre-Patrick Mahomes to win the Super Bowl: Manning, Brady, Nick Foles.
Okay, so we're going to go with the 2 of the 5 greatest quarterbacks to ever play the position as the argument.
Who were pocket passers.
Right, but that's also 7 years ago or 6 years ago.
Wow.
And Nick was 3, 4
was it
years
60
ago?
years ago? It was 6 years ago.
Again, you can win the Super Bowl still playing that position. To be a first-round pick that's the conversation.
Fair catch is made by Bolden, but there's a flag down as it looks like Alabama may have bumped
Personal
into
foul,
rebound.
roughing the kicker, defense number 10. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
So it will go back over to Arkansas. Tonight, UFC 256 in Las Vegas with flyweight champion Davison Figueiredo will defend his belt against #1 contender Brandon Moreno. The prelims start at 8 Eastern on ESPN2, ESPN Plus, and ESPN Deportes, with the main card on pay-per-view at 10 Eastern. To order in English and Spanish, go to espnplus.com/PPV. So Felipe Franks gets another chance with the football with 9.5 minutes to go.
You want me to be me and Matt Berry on the undercard?
A wide receiver screen to Trey Knox, and he gets a push for 6 yards.
I would argue, find me the young quarterback. Let's say 5 years in the NFL and younger. That is your traditional pocket passing quarterback. I don't move out the pocket, that is excelling or playing really good football. Daniel Jones, he's a way better athlete than people think he is. Kyler Murray, obviously explosive athlete.
That handoff to Smith comes up about 2 yards shy of a first down, so it'll be 3rd down again for the Hogs with 8 minutes and 40 seconds to go. No, you're right. There's no question that the mobility and athleticism that is now attached with that position is what's going to get teams at the top of the draft to want the Trevor Lawrences and the Justin Fields and the Kyler Murrays and the Baker Mayfields. Guys,
and I think that
even as Sam Darnold was drafted 3rd, Sam can run.
I think the thing for Mac Jones and probably a Kyle Trask is, are they so good at all those other things? Their intelligence, their preparation, their arm strength, their ability to throw with windows.
Smith loses the football. It's another takeaway for the Alabama defense. That ends up in the arms of Jalen Moody. Another fumble recovery for the top with 8 minutes to go. Traylon Smith just doing what he can to try and buy some more yards for Arkansas. Coughs it up.
Knights go K5, you are clear for landing.
Roger. Roger that. Knightscope K5, reporting for duty.
To learn more and schedule a demo, please visit us at www.knightscope.com.
With today's Live Moss moment brought to you by Taco Bell. And hard to believe this was a 3-3 game late in the first quarter, Dan Orlovsky, and then Devontae Smith did what Devontae Smith does and changes the game on this punt return.
Gave energy to their football team. It felt like the offense started a little bit slow. The defense was really good, but then that punt return, it felt like it focused everybody on their offense up specifically, and they were rolling ever since.
Bumper pull with a stop on Chase McClellan as we check in with Matt.
All right, guys, good one between Utah and Colorado here. Jake Bentley to Britton Covey. Good throw. Utah takes a 27-21 lead in a back-and-forth game. Coming up, Spencer Sanders, Oklahoma State. That will go final. That'll come up when you guys go final. By the way, Tua, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, all pocket guys, all succeeding in the NFL.
I cannot believe you just said that.
I knew when I saw your eyes go saucer wide.
All pocket guys.
I don't know about Tua.
Herbert and Burrow and Tua are amazing out-of-the-pocket athletes.
That gain for McClellan's a couple of yards. Getting word, apparently, that this has just come in from the Oklahoma State world, that Chuba Hubbard has opted out
for the rest of the season. They're coming up against Baylor, but Chuba Hubbard has put together every bit the NFL resume at this point that he needs to put together, and he is deciding that that is it for his Oklahoma State career.
He's got a bright future. You know, really good tailback. He's going to be an early draft pick. I don't know what, probably somewhere in that second round range, but very good speed and awesome vision.
Swing pass is broken up quickly. Taiyu Jones-Bell is met. He didn't have any time to look up before Ladarius Bishop was right in his face. Chris?
Yeah, I had Oklahoma State last week, and Chuba's been dealing with a right leg injury all season, really. Hadn't played the last couple games. He hasn't even been able to practice. I actually spoke to him earlier in the year about how difficult this season is. Having been from Canada, he hasn't seen his family in nearly a year. He became an uncle. He hasn't even been able to meet his nephew or niece, and so just it has taken a toll on him throughout the season.
That's part of the isolation of the players choosing to be a part of college football or college basketball right now. That is real. You miss your family because you have to stay inside the pseudo bubble that has been created to make sure that COVID stays as far away from these programs as possible.
So you're a small business, or a big one. You were thriving. But then, okay, plan, pivot. How do you bounce back? You don't. You bounce forward with serious and reliable internet, powered by the largest gig speed network in America. But is it secure? Sure, it's secure. And even if the power goes down, your connection doesn't.
So how do I do this?
You don't do this. We do this together. Bounce forward with Comcast Business.
This season, for every field goal and extra point made by participating universities, Allstate will make a contribution to the university's General Scholarship Fund, and we thank Allstate. A reminder, former WBO featherweight champ Shakur Stevenson moves up in weight class and highlights our top-ranked boxing main event tonight in Las Vegas. Coverage begins at 10 Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the ESPN app. So with 5.5 minutes to go, maybe one more chance for Arkansas to find the end zone before today is over for Felipe Franks. There's Traylon Smith. Nope, check that. Franks on a keeper. Fooled me, and he picks up about 11 yards. And by the way, we want to send our best get well wishes as soon as possible to Eli Gold, the voice of the Tide. He was diagnosed, tested positive with COVID this past week, so he's not calling today's game on the radio side for Alabama. Chris Stewart filling in. And I'm sure if Eli Gold is the Eli Gold I think he is and know him to be, he's not listening to us right now. He's an old school radio guy. He's listening to Chris Stewart call today's game between Alabama and Arkansas. But 409 consecutive Crimson Tide games. That streak today broken for Eli Gold because of coronavirus. So we will keep our fingers crossed for you, Eli, that you make a very speedy recovery. This Alabama team's got some pretty important games, I think, on the not too distant horizon. And hopefully he will be in the booth back where he belongs for an SEC championship game. And who knows, maybe a crack at the national championship as well.
Next week's game will be a lot of fun between those two programs, Florida and Alabama.
Smith stood up at the line of scrimmage. That's another tackle for Jalen Moody. All right, the Alabama defense against the Florida offense. Which side gives next Saturday, and what does Florida have to do against this defense to keep the production up where it needs to be?
I think Florida or Alabama defensively will have to answer the question first of who do they or how do they defend Kyle Pitts? You know, like what's that matchup going to look like? Are they going to play him in man, or is there going to be safety help? I think that's a big question for them. Florida having a really good offensive line, that'll be an awesome battle to watch, is this Alabama defensive line going against them. And then, you know, the secondary players for Florida's offense, like Kadarius Toney. Yeah, like, how does Alabama want to handle him, especially when they go Kyle Pitts on one side of the field and Toney like in the slot on the other? Look at Coach Saban still fired up about his defense on that third down. But like how they handle some of those players. this is why they're Alabama, and he's Nick Saban, though. I think that will be the interesting thing. And Dan Mullen does such a great job of attacking coverages. Alabama, I'd expect them defensively to try to mix up coverages a little bit more, especially post-snap. Trask gets so much information before the snap, so that'll be a big thing. But it really will start with Kyle Pitts.
Felipe Franks with the slant to Mike Woods, and he is driven back just short of the first down. But Alabama's defense today, they have made impact plays and taken the ball away.
Yeah, it started internally, right? When you had DJ Dale and Barmore, kind of that twist stunt, they win, and then the pressure package, Will Anderson comes from around his edge. So, if this defensive line plays, they were great against the run today, and then when they got into those passing situations, they got after the quarterback. They attacked that offensive line. Like I said, Florida's got a good offensive line, though, so that'll be a really, really good matchup to watch. But I think it starts with, I think the whole question of the game comes with Alabama's offense and Florida's defense. Like, can Florida defensively, physically match up with Alabama? That's the question.
A backwards pass to Burks. It's a trick play looking for a touchdown. Burks with a jump ball to the goal line. Brian Branch is there for the interception and the touchback. Boy, that's a true freshman. So schooled, does not fall for the trick play, and he is waiting at the goal line for his first career pick.
I can't tell you how good this is by Malachi Moore. Okay, this is him right here. Alabama's actually going to bring a corner blitz. He's got to go over the top and take that receiver. Okay, so now he's one-on-one with that receiver. Drift over the top. There's that little fake in route. Still play with leverage and see that tailback going downfield for that extra double pass. Play on the top, high point the ball. It's a great play by Malachi Moore. We talked about him being one of those audible learners of this defense, learning from Zoom. Went onto the field and started making checks in practice. His discipline pays off.
A lane into the open field. McClellan looking for the goal line. Touchdown. Nothing but true freshmen making plays for the tie. Second touchdown of the season for Chase McClellan. 80 yards.
Watch the push by that offensive line. They're climbing up 5-6 yards downfield, creating a huge hole for McClellan. And then his ability, you see Najee running down that sideline with him, but his ability to outrun the defenders. You said it, back-to-back big plays by freshmen.
(52-3). And a little bit later on this afternoon, quarterback Sam Howell and North Carolina in Miami to take on De'Ara King and the Canes. 3:30 Eastern on ABC and the ESPN app. And this is a game that could go a long way towards determining whether or not one of these two teams, Miami fans keeping their fingers crossed maybe for the Orange Bowl, could play in a New Year's Six game.
Yeah, Sam Howell's so much fun to watch. He's got two really dynamic receivers that he gets the ball to, and then De'Ara King has become like Mr. Do-It-All for Miami. So be an awesome game to watch. Miami trying to get into a big bowl game, like you said. So both offenses will score plenty of points.
Yeah, back to that thought you had about the game plan for Florida next week against Alabama. If you come out, are you really staying true to who you are if you're offensively looking at that game for Florida? Or are you thinking we may have to take some risks early, take some shots, because we have a number in mind that we know we have to get to give ourselves a realistic chance to win?
I think Dan Mullen is certainly going to come out with an aggressive mindset, but he's one of those coaches that always wants to see, like, okay, how are you playing us? You know, how are you going to play us? Is it going to be with one safety, two safeties? Are you going to play soft zone or play man? And so I think that'll be a big kind of feeling out process for Dan Mullen and how Alabama defensively wants to play them. But again, like if Alabama's going to play one defender over Kyle Pitts, and maybe it's a guy like Surtain, like, okay, then Dan Mullen is going to sit there and go, okay, do I love that matchup? Do I think Kyle Pitts is good enough to win enough? And if not, then it starts to go to all these other variables or all the other people in their offense.
Come and see you, Brady. Come and see you, Brady.
Delayed handoff to TJ Hammonds. And all Alabama has done today is add to the numbers that they have piled up defensively through their first 9 games. I mean, again, against a nothing but SEC schedule. You don't have the easier games, kind of that layup game that you get the week before the Iron Bowl. All of that was out this year, just purely SEC competition. And they're putting up terrific defensive numbers.
Yeah, if you just look at them at the beginning of the year to where they are right now, they're tackling a lot better. And Coach Saban said this, a lot of their young players that were getting reps early in this season that didn't have that off season to learn, they're making less mistakes. They're more comfortable with the play call and how to go operate it.
The pitch to TJ Hammonds. We talked earlier as well about pressure being a privilege and how this coaching staff and this head coach, they somehow never get affected by the pressure. This is, for Nick Saban, the 84th game that he has coached where his team has been #1 in the AP poll. 84 games. Among active coaches, #2 on the list is Dabo Swinney. He's coached 21 games with his team at #1. So 84 times you are going in, you are the Yankees, you are the Patriots, you are everybody's best shot is coming because you're Alabama and you're #1, and how they very rarely ever get affected by that pressure. They look like the same team every week.
I think the thing with them, everyone talks about the process, right? I kind of call it the routine. And I think that Nick Saban and this program are obsessed with the routine. I think 2 things. When you have the great routine that they do.
And another sack.
When
As this one belongs to Tim Smith.
The great routine that they do, you never go backwards. You never regress. And then it made me think of this quote, really, where we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. And that kind of defined or kind of gave some words to what Alabama has represented with Coach Saban is. They just have the greatest habits in the history of college football.
You may not be happy with this run by TJ Hammonds, but it should be the final play of the game as Brian Branch, who got that pick down at the goal line, comes up and makes the tackle. The 5th undefeated regular season since 2008 under Nick Saban. That is #1 in college football during that span, and he will take an undefeated Alabama team into the SEC championship game against Florida next week. And that is all right now that is in between Alabama and a trip to the top spot of the college football playoff. And that will bring to an end the season for Arkansas. And you know what? It bears mentioning. You mentioned it in the first half, but it bears mentioning again the nice job that Sam Pittman did in his first year at Arkansas, winning 3 games, coming so close to winning 3 others.
I love Sam Pittman. We've got to meet with him twice this year. I think Arkansas has great hands with him. Huge fan of the direction that he has this program going to.
So 52-3 is your final. And Alabama does it again for their head coach, Nick Saban, who's standing by with Chris.
Coach, you told me before the game you wanted your guys to play with purpose. What did you see out of your group today?
I thought they played with purpose. I thought they came here with a sense of urgency. I think we got started a little slow in the game, but I think as the game progressed, played pretty well, got better on defense, and we got to play a lot of players, so I think that was a good thing.
One of the goals for this season was to go 10-0 in an all-SEC schedule that's never been done before. What did it take from your group in order to do it?
Well, that really wasn't one of our goals. You know, one of our goals was to win the game next week. All right, so we still got to do that. But I'm really proud of our guys. Nobody's ever done that before, win 10 SEC games in the season and go undefeated. So that was the purpose here today, and I thought the guys did a good job of going after it.
Since you mentioned next week, where do you need to improve from now to then?
Well, obviously Florida's got a great team, and they'll challenge us a little bit differently because of their quarterback and their ability to throw the ball and some of the mismatched players they have. But we're going to get healthy, and we got to get our guys going again. But, you know, just got to get ready to go.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
I think they're ready to go based on how they performed today, but he never stops grinding, and that is why Alabama is Alabama and why they are once again #1 heading to the SEC championship game against Florida next week. For Dan Orlovsky and Chris Button, I'm Bob Wischusen saying so long. Matt Barry, Jesse Palmer, and Joey Galloway are standing by. Guys.
ESPN thanks you for watching this presentation of the Southeastern Conference.
Bob, Dan, and Chris, thank you. Good stuff throughout